stop before you click away. Answer this question honestly. When you walk through your home right now, do you feel energized and peaceful, or do you feel a subtle weight pressing down on your chest? That feeling has a name, and ignoring it could be costing you years of happiness, health, and freedom. Here's a statistic that will shock you. The typical American senior has amassed more than 10,000 individual items within their living space. Even more startling, research reveals we actively utilize merely 20% of everything we possess. Those remaining 8,000 items aren't enhancing your existence. They're systematically robbing you of your independence, tranquility, and physical well-being. If you've ever felt overwhelmed by the sheer volume of possessions surrounding you, or if you've wondered why organizing never seems to create lasting change, then what I'm about to reveal will be a game changer. I'm going to expose 5 brutal realities about decluttering that most experts refuse to discuss, truths that could revolutionize your remaining years. Before we dive deep into these life-changing insights, I want you to do something for me. If you're tired of feeling controlled by your possessions instead of controlling them, hit that subscribe button right now and ring the notification bell. I share weekly content specifically designed to help seniors reclaim their power and live their most fulfilling years. And if this resonates with you even just a little bit, show your support with a like. It helps more people discover these essential truths. Now, let me introduce you to someone whose transformation will inspire you. Meet Margareta, a story of liberation. Allow me to introduce Margareta, a 74-year-old former educator from Wisconsin, whose journey I had the privilege of witnessing firsthand. Following the devastating loss of her beloved husband of 48 years, Margareta discovered herself suffocating beneath a mountain of accumulated belongings spanning nearly 5 decades. I couldn't access my hallway closet without triggering an avalanche of items, she revealed during our initial consultation, yet every attempt to release anything triggered overwhelming guilt, as though I was somehow dishonoring Thomas's memory or erasing the beautiful life we'd built together. Does Margareta's experience strike a familiar chord? Perhaps you've transitioned to a more compact living space, yet transported decades worth of possessions along with you. Maybe you're preserving items with the justification that your children might desire them eventually, or possibly you're clinging to objects that represent your former identity rather than embracing who you've become today. Throughout the following exploration, I'll reveal the 5 uncomfortable decluttering realities that ultimately empowered Margareta to reclaim not merely her physical space, but her entire sense of what's possible in her remaining years. These aren't the gentle, feel-good suggestions you'll encounter in typical advice columns. These are the challenging revelations that generate genuine, permanent transformation. By the conclusion of this discussion, you'll comprehend why conventional decluttering guidance fails the majority of seniors, and you'll possess a completely revolutionary framework for your relationship with material possessions. I'm curious about your experience. Have you ever felt both physically and emotionally burdened by decades of accumulated belongings? Drop a comment below sharing your story. Your experience might provide comfort to someone else struggling with similar challenges. Your engagement also helps this content reach more people who need to hear these truths. Now, let's examine the first harsh reality that changed everything for Margareta. Harsh truth number 1. Your precious memories don't actually live in physical objects. The initial brutal truth, Margareta confronted challenges something most of us find profoundly disturbing. Your cherished memories aren't actually housed within your physical possessions. This revelation strikes at the very core of why decluttering proves so emotionally excruciating for our generation. Margareta's residence had transformed into a comprehensive museum of remembrances. Every drawer contained birthday greetings spanning multiple decades. Closets overflowed with her children's elementary school artwork and projects. Shelves buckled under the burden of photograph albums and sentimental keepsakes. When I proposed removing any of these items, Margareta's reaction was immediate and passionate. "These objects are my memories," she declared. "If I eliminate them, I'll lose those irreplaceable moments forever." This is precisely where neuroscience provides us with fascinating insights that can liberate us from this limiting belief. Dr. Jennifer Harman, who specializes in memory research, explains the reality this way. Our brains don't actually store memories within objects. Objects simply function as triggers for memories that are genuinely encoded within our neural pathways. What's even more intriguing is that we don't require every single trigger to preserve the memory intact. Let me emphasize this crucial point. We don't need to retain every trigger to maintain the memory. Margareta initially dismissed this concept entirely, but then we conducted an experiment that transformed her entire perspective. We selected a container filled with greeting cards from her late husband, items she considered absolutely essential for preserving his memory. Before removing a single card, we photographed each one thoroughly, capturing both the handwritten messages inside and any distinctive design elements. A week following this process, I asked Margareta to describe her most treasured memory associated with those cards. She retrieved the photos on her tablet and began recounting their 42nd anniversary celebration. Tears filled her eyes as she recalled the intricate details of that day. Of their emotions, the connection, the profound love, everything remained vivid and accessible, triggered just as powerfully by the photograph as by the physical card itself. I was absolutely astounded, Margareta confided later. I realized I wasn't actually losing the memory by releasing the physical item. In fact, I could access these memories more easily because they weren't buried in boxes I never opened. This revelation led to a practical solution that might revolutionize your approach as well. Margareta created what we term memory anchors rather than preserving every memory-related item. Here's her systematic approach. First, she established one dedicated memory container for each loved one or significant life chapter, not 10 containers, just one carefully curated collection. Second, she retained only the items that triggered the richest, most meaningful memories while releasing the duplicates and less significant pieces. Third, for everything else, she captured high-quality photographs before finding new homes for the physical items, ensuring the visual memory remained intact. Fourth, she created digital memory albums that her grandchildren now actively engage with during visits, unlike the boxes stored in the attic that they never encountered. Dr. Sarah Collins, a geriatric psychologist, explains why this approach proves so effective. As we age, we often intensify our relationship with possessions as symbols of our identity and life story. Learning to separate the memory from the object itself isn't just practical, it's psychologically liberating. It helps us carry our past more lightly while remaining fully present for our current life. What about your situation? Is there a collection of memory-laden items you've been preserving that might serve you better as photographs? Could you experiment with digitizing one category of mementos while maintaining just a few physical anchors? Share your thoughts in the comments below. I'm genuinely curious which items feel most challenging to transform in this way. Your insights might help others who are facing similar decisions. Harsh truth number 2. Decluttering demands real decisions, not just better organization. The second harsh truth that Margareta had to confront resonates deeply with many of us. Decluttering requires making actual decisions, not simply organizing what you already possess. This distinction is absolutely critical, yet most of us miss it entirely. For years, Margareta believed she was addressing her clutter challenge effectively. She'd dedicate entire weekends to cleaning, meticulously arranging items in color-coordinated containers, installing elaborate shelving systems, and labeling everything with her dependable label maker. Her home appeared organized on the surface, but cabinets and closets remained packed to capacity. I was perpetually exhausted from constantly managing my belongings, Margareta admitted. I'd organized the same areas repeatedly, but somehow they'd always become chaotic again within weeks. Here's the reality check that revolutionized everything for Margareta. Organizing is simply rearranging what you already possess, while decluttering requires deciding what actually deserves to remain in your life. One approach maintains the status quo, the other transforms it completely. The breakthrough moment arrived when Margareta calculated her expenditures on storage solutions during the previous year alone. She was shocked to discover it exceeded $475 money, literally spent to store items she rarely or never used. Even more eye-opening was when we inventoried her storage containers: 42 plastic bins, 15 decorative boxes, and 11 underbed storage containers. I realized I was paying a premium in money, space, and peace of mind to keep things I couldn't even remember owning, she reflected. I was organizing clutter, not eliminating it. To break this destructive cycle, Margareta needed a simple but powerful decision-making framework. We developed what I call the triple filter test that she applied to every single item in her home. Here's how it works. Filter 1. Do I genuinely love this item? Not just like it or feel obligated to keep it, but truly love it and feel joy when I see it. Filter 2. Have I actually used this item in the past 12 months? Not might use someday, but have demonstrably used it recently. Filter 3. If I encountered this in a store today, would I purchase it again at full price, knowing what I know now about my current lifestyle and preferences? If an item didn't receive 3 clear yes answers, it had to go. No exceptions, no maybe pile. No I'll decide later postponements. This framework forced Margareta to make real decisions rather than endlessly postponing them. The results were dramatic and immediate. In just 2 focused weekends, Margareta removed over 240 pounds of items from her home, things she had been carefully organizing and reorganizing for years without ever questioning whether they deserved to remain in her life at all. The triple filter test completely changed my relationship with my possessions, Margareta told me. Instead of asking where should I put this, I started asking why am I keeping this? That small shift in thinking made all the difference. The psychological impact was equally significant. Margareta reported feeling lighter, more energetic, and significantly less anxious about her living space. She was no longer trapped in the endless cycle of reorganizing the same items repeatedly. What about you? Are you an organizer or a declutterer? Take a moment to consider. When was the last time you purchased a storage container versus the last time you filled a donation box? That ratio might reveal whether you're making decisions or just rearranging. Share your honest assessment in the comments. Are you organizing or truly decluttering? And if you're ready to start making real decisions about your possessions, let me know what category you'll tackle first. Your commitment might inspire others to take action too. Harsh truth. Number 3. Your children and grandchildren probably don't want most of your possessions. Third, harsh truth is perhaps the most emotionally challenging for many seniors. Your children and grandchildren likely don't want most of your possessions. This reality can feel like personal rejection, but understanding it can actually strengthen family relationships and free you from unnecessary burden. Margareta had designated entire sections of her home as for the kids someday. She maintained complete sets of formal china that hadn't been used in 17 years. Crystal glassware remained carefully wrapped in original boxes, gathering dust. 3 separate collections of figurines occupied dedicated shelves throughout her home. Her basement housed furniture she personally disliked but kept because it's been in the family for generations. When I suggested she might confirm whether her children actually wanted these items, Margareta was resistant. Of course they want them, she insisted. These things represent our family history and heritage. The reality check came when Marg finally initiated honest conversations with her for adult children. She was stunned to discover they only wanted a few select items with personal meaning. Most of what she'd been preserving for them held little appeal in their current lives. Her eldest daughter gently explained, "Mom, my house is already completely full, and frankly, my style is entirely different from yours. Those china patterns feel very formal to me, and I'd honestly never use them. What matters to me are the handwritten recipes, the quilt great-grandma made, and maybe Dad's fishing equipment that holds actual memories." This isn't unique to Margareta's family. We're witnessing a significant generational shift in attitudes toward possessions. Today's younger adults generally prefer experiences over things, digital over physical, and minimalism over accumulation. They're more mobile, live in smaller spaces, and have completely different aesthetic preferences than previous generations. Estate attorney Martin Reynolds confirms this trend. The biggest source of family tension I encounter isn't about money, it's about physical possessions. Parents assume their children want the good stuff, while children dread inheriting items they don't want but feel guilty discarding. Rather than feeling rejected, Margareta took a proactive approach that strengthened her family relationships. She hosted what we called a legacy day, where she shared the stories behind meaningful items and asked which specific pieces actually resonated with each family member. The discoveries were fascinating and sometimes surprising. Her grandson treasured the vintage fishing tackle box, but had zero interest in the antique writing desk. Her daughter-in-law loved the family recipe collection, but didn't want the silver serving pieces that required regular polishing. Her youngest son wanted the workshop tools, but felt no connection to the formal dining room furniture. For items no one wanted, Margareta made peace with finding new homes selling valuable pieces. donating useful items, and simply letting go of things that had served their purpose in her life. The unexpected benefit was her children's palpable relief. They weren't being insensitive about our family history, Margareta realized. They had actually been worried about eventually having to sort through everything themselves. Now, I was giving them a precious gift, freedom from future guilt and burden. Margareta's daughter later confided, "I've been having anxiety about someday having to deal with all of Mum's belongings while grieving her loss. Knowing she's handling this now means I can focus on making memories with her instead of worrying about her things." This proactive approach also created opportunities for meaningful conversations about family history. Rather than preserving objects in isolation, Margareta shared the stories behind them, which proved far more valuable to her family than the items themselves. What about you? Have you had the who wants what conversation with your family yet? It might feel uncomfortable initially, but it could be one of the most loving things you do for them. Share in the comments if you've had this discussion or what's holding you back from starting it. Remember, your most valuable legacy isn't in your possessions but in your relationships and the memories you create together. Harsh truth number 4. Decluttering isn't about aesthetics, it's a health necessity. Fourth, harsh truth cuts to the heart of aging gracefully. Decluttering isn't just about aesthetics or tidiness, it's a genuine health necessity that becomes increasingly critical as we age. This perspective shift made all the difference for Margareta. For years, she viewed decluttering as a purely optional project, something she should do eventually but could easily postpone. "I'll get around to it when I have more energy," she'd tell herself. It's not really that important compared to other things. What Margareta didn't realize was that her cluttered home was creating actual health hazards that were affecting her daily life in significant and measurable ways. Let's examine the physical reality first. A cluttered home creates multiple health risks that become increasingly dangerous as we age. Fall risks are perhaps the most serious concern. The CDC reports that 1 in 4 seniors falls each year, and falls are the leading cause of fatal injuries. For older adults, Margareta's pathways were narrowed by excess furniture, with small items frequently on the floor. This wasn't just untidy, it was genuinely dangerous. Respiratory issues also emerge from cluttered environments. Dust accumulates on rarely moved possessions, creating air quality problems that can exacerbate asthma, allergies, and other breathing difficulties. Margareta noticed her chronic cough would worsen during certain seasons, not realizing it was connected to the dust harbored in her densely packed possessions. Physical strain from navigating around and constantly rearranging heavy items puts unnecessary stress on aging bodies. Margareta was exhausting herself just maintaining her belongings, leaving less energy for activities she actually enjoyed. Beyond these physical concerns, the emotional impact of clutter is equally significant. Research from the Mayo Clinic shows that physical clutter creates mental clutter. Studies have documented that living in disorganized, overcrowded spaces directly correlates with elevated cortisol stress hormone levels that remain high throughout the day. Higher rates of anxiety and depression, difficulty focusing and making decisions, poorer sleep quality, increased social isolation due to embarrassment about home conditions. The wake-up call for Margareta came in a dramatic way. She tripped over a stack of magazines she'd been meaning to sort through and sprained her wrist badly. During her doctor's visit, Dr. Patterson didn't mince words. "Your clutter is now a safety issue. At your age, a fall could lead to much worse outcomes than a sprain." This medical perspective helped Margareta see decluttering not as an optional aesthetic project, but as an essential health intervention, as important as taking her medications or doing her physical therapy exercises. As Margareta gradually cleared her space, starting with pathways and high-traffic areas, something remarkable happened. Her chronic headaches decreased in frequency. She slept more soundly. Her blood pressure readings at medical checkups improved consistently. Perhaps most significantly, she began inviting friends over again for the first time in years. "I hadn't realized how much my cluttered home was isolating me," she admitted. "I was turning down invitations because I couldn't bear the thought of reciprocating and having people see how I was living." Margareta's approach was practical and prioritized safety. First, she started with safety-critical areas, clearing pathways, removing trip hazards, and ensuring emergency exits were accessible. Second, she addressed air quality issues by removing dust-collecting items like excess textiles and papers. Finally, She focused on the aesthetic and organizational aspects, which became much easier once the health and safety foundations were established. What about you? Have you noticed any physical or emotional changes that might be connected to your living environment? Perhaps tension, headaches that ease when you're away from home, or anxiety that spikes when you look at certain rooms? Share your observations in the comments. Your experience might help someone else make an important connection about their health. Remember, creating a safer, clearer environment isn't vanity, it's a vital part of healthy aging that deserves to be prioritized. Harsh truth number 5. Decluttering is an ongoing practice, not a one-time project. The fifth and final harsh truth Margareta had to accept was that decluttering isn't a one-and-done project. It's an ongoing practice and mindset shift that requires consistent attention and commitment. This truth became evident after her initial success when areas of her home began filling up again within just a few months. "I was so disappointed in myself," Margareta confessed. "I'd worked so hard to clear out all that clutter, and somehow it was creeping back in. I couldn't understand what was happening." Here's the reality that most decluttering experts won't tell you. The reason most decluttering efforts ultimately fail is that people treat the symptom, too much stuff, rather than the cause, habits and mindset around acquiring and keeping. Without addressing these root causes, the clutter invariably returns, often leaving you feeling more defeated than before. Margareta's revelation came when she started tracking her acquisition patterns. "I realized I was still shopping when I was sad or bored," she admitted, "and I was saying yes to every free item offered by friends and family. My grandson would ask if I wanted his old coffee maker when he upgraded, and I'd say yes, even though I already had 2 that worked perfectly fine. These unconscious habits were sabotaging my hard-won progress." The breakthrough came when Margareta recognized that maintaining a clutter-free home required a system, not just willpower or occasional cleaning sprees. What worked for Margareta was establishing what I call a preservation protocol, 5 specific habits that protect your space from clutter creep. Protocol 1, 1 in, 1 out. For every new item that enters her home, an equivalent item must leave. A new blouse means an old one gets donated. A new book means an old one finds a new home. This maintains equilibrium and prevents accumulation. Protocol 2, the 24-hour rule. For non-essential purchases over $50, Margareta waits 24 hours before buying. This simple pause eliminates most impulse purchases, as the emotional urge to buy typically fades when given time to consider. Protocol 3, weekly reset. Every Sunday afternoon, Margareta spends just 15 minutes returning items to their proper homes. This prevents small piles from becoming overwhelming projects and maintains the systems she's established. Protocol for monthly review. Once a month, she identifies 5 items that no longer serve her well and removes them from her home. This steady outflow prevents gradual accumulation and keeps her possessions current with her actual lifestyle. Protocol 5, seasonal refresh. 4 times a year, she evaluates seasonal items before storing them. Holiday decorations that weren't used, summer clothes that weren't worn, or evaluated honestly before being stored for another year. The most profound change wasn't in Margareta's closets or cabinets, it was in her thinking. She shifted from seeing possessions as sources of security or comfort to seeing open space as the true luxury. "Empty space gives me room to breathe, to move, to live," she explains. "I used to see an empty shelf as something to fill. Now I see it as something to protect." 2 years after beginning her decluttering journey, Margareta's home remains comfortable and manageable. More importantly, she reports feeling lighter both physically and emotionally. "I'm not controlled by my things anymore," she says, "and that's given me freedom I haven't felt in decades. I spend less time cleaning and organizing, and more time living." This ongoing practice doesn't require perfection, just awareness and consistency. Margareta still occasionally brings home something unnecessary, but now she recognizes it quickly and makes corrections before old patterns take hold again. What about you? What's one small maintenance habit you could start today to prevent clutter from returning? Could you try the 24-hour rule on purchases, or commit to a 15-minute weekly reset? Share your commitment in the comments, and we can support each other in creating sustainable, clutter-resistant homes. When we declare our intentions publicly, we're much more likely to follow through. The transformation, life after embracing these harsh truths today, Margaretta's home looks dramatically different. Open spaces welcome visitors with warmth and invitation. Clear surfaces invite actual use rather than serving as storage areas. There's room to entertain friends and family again, space for her grandchildren to play freely. But the most profound change is in Margaretta herself. I used to think my possessions defined me and preserved my history, she reflects. But I've discovered that letting go has actually connected me more deeply to what truly matters: people, experiences, and the present moment. Margaretta's health has improved significantly. Her blood pressure is lower, and she sleeps better. She moves through her home with ease and confidence. No more navigating around obstacles or shifting piles to find a place to sit. The constant, low-grade anxiety that had become her normal state has lifted entirely. Perhaps most tellingly, her relationships have deepened. Without the burden of managing so many possessions, she has more energy for people. Her adult children visit more often, and her grandchildren actually enjoy being in her space. Before, everything was so fragile or valuable or crowded that the kids couldn't really be themselves here, Margaretta admits. Now they can spread out a board game on the coffee table or help me bake in a kitchen where the counters are actually usable. Margaretta's journey reflects a profound truth that applies to all of us as we age. Our legacy isn't in our possessions but in our relationships, our stories, and the space we create for living fully in the present. The most valuable gift we can leave our loved ones isn't more stuff, it's our example of living unburdened and the freedom from having to sort through decades of accumulation after we're gone. As we reach our senior years, we have a unique opportunity to redefine our relationship with our possessions. We can choose to remain trapped by decades of accumulation, or we can embrace the freedom that comes with keeping only what truly enhances our current life. Margaretta puts it this way: I realized I was preserving the past at the expense of my present. Every corner filled with memories meant less space for making new ones. Once I understood that, the choice became clear. Her advice to others beginning this journey is simple but powerful. Start with the question: does this item support the life I want today? Not the life you had, not the life you might have someday, the life you're actually living right now. What would your life feel like with more open space, both physical and mental? How might your relationships deepen if you weren't constantly managing possessions? These are the questions worth reflecting on as you consider your own relationship with the things that fill your home. Your next steps. Moving forward with confidence. These 5 harsh truths about decluttering might be uncomfortable to hear, but as Margaretta discovered, facing them can transform your daily life in ways you never imagined possible. Remember the key insights. Your memories aren't stored in your physical things. Organizing isn't the same as children likely don't want most of your stuff. Clutter directly affects your health and well-being. Maintaining a clear space requires ongoing commitments. This message resonated with you. Please hit the like button and subscribe to Senior Reset for more content designed specifically for our generation. Share this video with someone who might be feeling overwhelmed by decades of possessions. Your share could be the first step in their transformation journey. Most importantly, I want to hear from you in the comments. Which of these 5 truths hit closest to home? What's the first area of your home you're going to tackle? Your engagement not only helps others, but helps this important message reach more people who need to hear it. Together, we can redefine what it means to live fully in our golden years, unencumbered by excess possessions and free to focus on what truly matters. Your journey toward freedom starts with a single decision. What will yours be?